What's up, YouTube? I'm Brett,
Lance.
and this is Rants or Us. As always, guys, if y'all enjoy our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave that comment down below. We're on the road to 1,000. We hope you guys can help us get there. All right, so episode 4, Superman and Lois. What do you think?
I enjoyed
You
it.
enjoyed it?
I mean, like, I thought it was a good episode. I'm still excited for the next one. I didn't think this episode was as strong as the last couple,
Yeah.
but I mean, it still had its moments that I really enjoyed.
It had its moments. It had its moments that I enjoyed. I kind of felt like I enjoyed the boys in this one a lot more. I even kind of liked Sarah a little bit more in it. I just didn't really enjoy the Clark Kent General Lane kind of storyline in that. I kind of felt like that was kind of awkward in some ways. Where
Well,
General Lane
see,
was
for
trying to tell
me,
him his business and things.
yeah, for me, it was kind of hit and miss there. To follow Lord General Lane and Clark are going to butt heads.
Yeah,
That's just how it's always been.
yeah.
So, I mean, I understand that aspect of it, but I do feel like General Lane kind of needs to know his place a little bit. Like,
I think Superman kind of put him in that place to a certain extent when he was basically like, "I don't
well,
work for you.
I think
I'm doing
Lois
this
did.
because I want
Like,
to." you know,
I
and
actually think Lois was the one that put him in check, though. Was like,
yeah. I mean, and I get that too. I mean, and I'm kind of glad that they had it where that Lois had that conversation with her dad because it looked like Clark wasn't going to. Like Clark would go there
yeah.
to a certain
Well,
extent, but I don't think he
I
would
feel
be
like it would have
raising her.
been I don't. I feel like it would have been a little weird if it had been Clark. I mean, that is her dad, so I felt like it's kind of her place to be like, look,
Yeah.
if you keep challenging us and how we raise our children, you're not going to be welcome here no more.
But then at
He's
the
like,
same,
fine,
but then at the same
I'll get
time,
my stuff.
but then at the same time, I'm kind of like it was kind of a dumb story arc in the first place because technically what General Lane had told the boys was,
But
when they
yeah,
didn't
but
call him, he had told them don't don't just get your dad to do
don't just
frivolous
call him
stuff in
from
the
dumb
world for
stuff
nothing.
because you like miss him,
Yeah,
or
yeah. He didn't say don't call him
And
if
I
you
do get
like him
that.
and
I do
stuff.
get that. But I mean that there was other things where he was overstepping, not just that instance.
Oh,
So
I
I
know, but
felt
I mean
like,
that's when she really, really the kettle boiled over at that point was when
yeah,
they did it,
yeah,
and I'm like, these boys aren't that stupid that they realize that when they were in danger, they call their dad. Like, I mean, I kind of
yeah.
just felt that way with it.
Well,
Um,
and a lot of, and two, some of that, okay, this is one thing that did kind of bug me about that. Part of that was like, Jonathan's like, you need to call him. And Jordan's like, oh, I can handle this.
hmm
So that wasn't all just because of what the grandpa had
No, it
said. That was
wasn't.
also Jordan being like, I got this.
Yeah, yeah, because he felt
So
responsible for what had happened. So I mean, he was trying to take care of it himself. You
he's trying
know,
to handle responsibilities.
yeah.
Yeah. And so I mean, so I get that. So part of that wasn't on General Lane in that
Mm-mm.
instance. Jordan didn't want to call because he wanted to try to handle some stuff himself.
Yeah.
And maybe he felt that way because of what his grandfather had said to him earlier. But either way,
See, I thought this was going to be the episode where Jordan and John were going to kind of have that break, but it never
I
happened, and I'm kind of glad it didn't
I
happen.
do think it's gonna
I
happen.
did
I just
too.
don't think they're gonna do it like right now. Like
I didn't want
I
it to
think
be.
they're gonna stretch that out a little bit.
I didn't want it to be over something frivolous like football. Don't get me wrong, I love football, but I mean, come on. I didn't want it to be over that. I didn't want it to be over a girl. I wanted it to be over, a consecutive amount of things that have taken place. I wanted it to be, where John is just at his breaking point because they're spending so much time with Jordan and paying more attention to what Jordan needs compared to what John needs. And I kind of hope that it's consecutive amount of things, not just hey, I don't like you on the team or something like that. Like I didn't want it to be over that.
Well, yeah, but I kind of want it to be something more than, oh, you're getting more attention than you used to. Now I'm mad.
Yeah,
That
I
seems
know.
kind of trivial to me too. Like,
Yeah, I didn't want it to be
it's
over
kind of like
that.
what Jordan said to Sarah was like, okay, my brother's been popular his entire life. He'll be all right.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and I kind of feel like John has handled that pretty well. Like, I mean, you think
Well,
about.
see, me and you kind of differ on that one. At times, yeah. But then there's other times where he just has his little bipolar blow up.
Oh, that was the
And
one
then he's
thing.
like,
That was the
he's
one
like,
thing.
oh, we're good.
What
We're
was it?
good.
Last episode, he had that like blow up that was out of nowheres, and
No, that was like I think that was like
was
episode
that episode
two when
two?
he was
See, I couldn't remember if that was episode
he
two
had
or
that blow
episode
up, and
three.
then in episode three, he got all mad because he joined football, and then he went to Clark and was like, "Well, football's really good for him." Then why are you just now getting all pissed off about it? Like,
Yeah, I didn't.
make up your mind.
There
Like,
is some
and so
moments.
there has been some moments where
Yeah,
Jonathan's just like, "Bruh," and I'm like, that was uncalled for. Like,
yeah, I kind of agree with you on that one. But
and just kind of
overall,
like out of the left field, just out of
yeah,
nowhere, get mad, and then the very next scene, go to bat and defense for your brother. Like,
yeah,
uh,
I kind of see where
make
you're
up your
going.
mind. That's
But
back
but
and forth.
but see, to me, I feel like that's not bad writing. I feel like that's bad acting on his part a little bit. Like he's showing the
Well,
scenes
I
in a
still feel
wrong light
like
to a certain
I know how you are about that, and I do agree with you to an extent. But I also still feel like that's partly okay. You have the power to be like, cut, do that better.
yeah.
Like, that's bad directing.
Yeah, and you know what?
Like,
That's honest
it's the
truth.
director's job to stop that from
Yeah,
happening. So
yeah. Not
I
unless you
say
feel,
bad directing on that.
not unless you just absolutely feel like the kid just can't pull it off. Like, I mean, we don't know how many cuts he actually did do. That was the best one he could get.
That's true too.
It
That
could be
is
that
true
way
too. So
too.
I mean,
But if it's that way, then you
yeah.
got to find another kid to do that part. Like the way I look
You
at
shouldn't
it.
have casted him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you should have gone over the entire script with him and found out his highs and lows and whether or not he is capable of pulling off what he needs
And
to
I think
pull
he's a
off.
good actor.
I
I
think
just
he
think
is too.
that
He's
I
just a
think
younger
that
actor.
at some moments he overacts.
Yeah, yeah, I will agree with you on that one. Now, as far as Jordan is concerned, I feel like Jordan he's good all the way. Like I feel like
Oh,
he
he's
can.
spot on. I think
Yeah, I
he's
feel like
perfect for that role.
he can do the lows and he can do the highs, and he doesn't come off as awkward in any of them. He feels like
Not
he can pull them
not
out a little bit
I mean,
better.
he does come off as awkward, but he's supposed to.
Yeah, yeah, which
I
is
mean,
yeah,
he's
yeah,
but
that's the
I
honest
mean,
truth.
I
I
get
mean,
what you were saying. I was just
but it's like, man, but I'll tell you the one thing that I was really glad that they actually tried to fix a little bit was Lana Lang's desperate marriage and or falling apart marriage. I'm glad that
yeah.
maybe Lois kind of had that
But
little talk
okay.
with her to show her the
Yeah,
good side of her husband.
I didn't understand how Lois and Lana are fixing each other's relationships for each other. When did that happen? Like, when did y'all become those kind of friends? Like,
Oh yeah, I almost kind of felt like it was kind of odd when Lana was like, "Hey, you want to go out for drinks?"
all that
So
is
like,
all that was to me is okay. Morgan Edge approached Lana and she thought it was weird. She knows Lois and Morgan Edge hate each other, so she's like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend type BS. Like,
okay. Speaking of that, did you think that it was just a little bit weird when Lana, when Lana's talking to Edge and uh she, they get done with the conversation, and then she goes to Kyle, and she's like, he didn't even ask me if I was uncomfortable with the conversation. And I'm thinking, who does that? Who's like sitting there talking to you and then just be like, hey, are you comfortable with this conversation that we're just having right now? Like no one does that in
I
a
thought,
conversation. I'm
okay,
like, what are you
see,
talking about?
I thought what she was saying was Kyle didn't ask her if it made her
I
uncomfortable.
thought she said Morgan. She's like, because she said something about, well, he didn't even ask me if I felt comfortable with talking about these conversations. I'm like, because
See,
at
I
the
thought
time,
she said you didn't even ask me.
oh, see,
I thought she
I
told
thought
Kyle
it
you didn't
was,
even ask me how it made her, if I was comfortable with that conversation. So I mean, one of us might be off base, but I thought she said that about Kyle not check. You know that you're my husband. You're supposed to be like making sure I'm good.
look,
And he made me
you want
feel
to talk about,
uncomfortable, and you didn't even care.
you want to talk about bad acting is when Kyle in that conversation with Morgan Edge and when he's talking to Lana, Kyle's just constantly looking over there, talking to the person he's talking to, and then looking over there and winking at Lana. I saw like 3 winks in that, and I was like, "What is wrong with you, dude? Like, is that what you do?
Like you got
Every time you
something
turn
in
to
your
your
eye.
wife, you wink at her? Like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to pull
You
off a
got something in
heist
your
or
eye.
something? Like,
I don't know.
three
I don't
winks
feel
tells me
like
you're in trouble. you know?
Kyle's not a character. Kyle's not a character I get into very much. I'm like,
He come
this
he
guy.
look. He kind of comes off to me as and maybe I think a little bit too much in it. Is they're trying to make him the dumb hillbilly that gets taken advantage of. I think that's kind of the way they're wanting to make him be, to a certain extent. Is the
Yeah,
way,
I don't know what their plan is with Kyle. I just
but
nothing about his character is. I'm like, oh, what's about to happen? I
no,
don't even
no.
care. Like,
Well, I mean,
you
they
know,
and I just want to explain what I meant about that because I think it was in episode 1 he made that comment. Well, the Daily Planet is going down because y'all can't keep your politics out of the paper, and there's a couple other little things about y'all
well,
city
I'm like, how
people
do
and
you
things like
look?
that.
This
I
is
kind
what
of feel
bothers
like
me
that.
about that comment. Tell me, tell me if this makes sense. You live in Smallville. What do you know about the Daily Planet? Like,
I know it's like, are you sitting there looking up the actual Daily Planet to
you
see who's
actually go and
mayor?
look up Metropolis news.
No,
I
no. I
mean,
mean, I've
you
never
live in
looked.
Smallville.
I'll be honest with you. I've never really understood that
And
because
Did Lana Lane accuse Superman of cheating on her with Lois Lane? Because he's
I
like,
think
oh,
she
we were dating,
changed.
and then he just disappeared and never came back, and I didn't understand why until
And
I
then he's
met
a
you.
changed man, and I knew something was up. I think she actually kind of did to a certain extent.
Like
I
I was
was
like, wait a minute.
because I was like, oh, she's gonna get pissed, and then it's like it
Lois is
is.
just like, you're my best friend.
I know. It's like I didn't get that. I'd be a little bit suspicious if
So
you
like I
know.
said, there were some things this episode that I was like, that's weird. But
Well,
like
it was like
one
there
thing
was.
I'm starting to, 1 or 2 episodes here, last episode they didn't mention him at all. This episode they didn't really mention him at all. I do wish they would kind of go back towards Captain Luther more than just making Morgan Edge the main bad guy. Like,
What on earth has happened to Captain Luther? It's like
we're gonna find. I know there's gonna be something to do with it next episode because of what General Lane did at the
yeah.
end, and I felt like that was kind of petty too. I felt like that was kind of like, oh, they told me not to be in their business no more, so I no longer trust Superman. Like I felt like that was kind of like a petty little way to be like, oh, he told
Agreed.
me off. Let's open up a protocol.
Agreed. Because look, it's not like in Justice League where the movie where he's shown signs that he'll fall apart and you take over the world or something like that. He was
Yeah.
basically just trying to say, I want to be a father for my kids too. Like there's a big difference between
To me,
going
he
all
basically
evil and
was
taking over
like,
the world from saying I want to be a coach on my kids
basically
team.
the only bad thing Superman did, or the only thing that General Lane could take as a bad thing, is he was like, I don't work for you, I'm not your little bi. Like I'm not just gonna do everything you tell me to. I choose to do this. And so he's like, oh, we gotta open a protocol. He don't work for us no more. Like
Yeah,
he never fucking did.
yeah, he never did. That's the way I kind of felt towards it too. I know I had that problem with it too. I was like, ooh, that's kind of a silly way for a
So I
kid
felt
to
like he was
react.
like, all right. I felt like he was like, all right, you don't want me telling you what to do no more? Fine. I'm gonna join forces with Luther.
Yeah,
What?
look, if they go down that route, I'm going to have a serious problem with it if it's over something like that. Because
Yeah.
there was some things where it did say, where Captain General Lane has had problems with Superman, where remember he did say we bought up all the world's kryptonite, and that's why it's so scarce.
He
And
said,
Superman
yeah, but
asked
he
him why, and he
said
said
they did
because of
that.
you.
Well, he said he did that to protect him against people that would use it against him.
But then at
But
the
we all
same
know that
time,
ain't
like, yeah.
true.
Yeah, now we kind of know exactly that wasn't true. And I think Superman kind of realized it wasn't true as well. But
Oh,
the
he knew
same
it.
but at the same time, if you were as powerful as Superman and you actually had the heart of gold that Superman has, you should probably kind of understand why if you something ever did happen to you, whether it was in your control or out of your control, that you would want people there to be able to have a resource to take you down if at possible. So like I feel like Superman maybe should kind of
Well, see,
understand why these things happen,
okay, I
but I can
wasn't cut out
understand
to
why he
be a
feel betrayed
hero,
at the same
so
time.
I wasn't cut out to be a hero, so I wouldn't have thought of it that way. I'd be like, no, you're gonna give me that kryptonite.
Yeah, but see, that's
Like,
where I kind of feel like you and I would be automatically villains.
I would be a villain.
I
I'm
would
sorry.
I would be like, I'm sorry, if somebody told me that they had bought up all the kryptonite in the world, oh, I'm taking that kryptonite. From
Yeah,
like
you gonna
one
give me
way or
that
the other,
kryptonite.
I'm taking that kryptonite.
This
You're
might
either
be
gonna
what
hand it to
pushes
me or
me
I'm gonna
over.
take it
Yeah,
from you.
yeah. This what might be what pushes me from hero to villain right here. If you don't
Exactly.
give me
That
that
would be that would be
shit.
yeah, that would be the instance right off the bat that I'd be like, okay, I'm taking that. And I
Yeah,
kind of expected him to do that in that moment to be like, hey, you know what? If I'm going to do all this stuff for y'all,
but then
y'all
I
need
kind of
to
felt
get
like,
rid of
and then
that.
I kind of felt like right after that, and they blew it off like nothing was said. But I felt like right after that, and this wasn't even this episode. This was a previous episode. But we bounced it all around here. But right after that, I feel like Superman kind of doesn't trust his wife because he comes home and he's like, "Do you know your father was stockpiling kryptonite?" And she's like, "No."
So,
I'm like, he basically just accused you
mhm.
of knowing that your father was building an army against him. Like,
But wouldn't you be mad if you were Lois Lane and you didn't know that, and you found out
that's what I'm saying. She should have been like, "What are you accusing me of?"
that your father was actually trying to find ways to kill your husband? Like, hey,
Well, not just
you
that,
never
but I
thought about
mean,
that.
even when Clark asked her, I feel like most women. I'm sorry if it was reversed, and I asked my wife, "Did you know this?" She's like, "What are you accusing me of?"
And probably rightfully so, because I feel like, I mean,
They were
you
just
have
like,
to, yeah.
"No big deal," but I'm gonna drink this whole bottle of wine tonight. Like,
No, no. Although I just kind of feel like there is some moments, especially this episode, and yes, there was some things in previous episodes as well. But I would say particularly this episode, there was some things that just made me go, "Ooh, that didn't look right, or that didn't sound right, or some things could have been maybe switched around a little bit that would have made that where it wasn't so awkward and weird." Like,
yeah.
like Superman's not a threat to the Earth because he wants to be a coach. Like, I mean,
Okay.
he's not a threat.
My thing too is he's like, "You're forgetting your other responsibilities because you want to coach high school football." No, he's still showing up when things get.
I don't understand what did he not show up for that caused that reaction in the first place. He shows up every time that you hit that little
Because
button that says
he didn't want to be a prison convoy,
he didn't want to be.
whatever, guardian or whatever. Like,
But isn't that kind of like a dumb thing? Kind of what they
he
were
was
wanting
like,
him to do.
"You're talking about, life-ending things. Him being in a bus going to another prison. Now, if he gets out or whatever, let me know and I'll handle it. That's exactly what he told him, and that's exactly what he did.
But I mean, if you're Superman, you got to kind of look at it this way. What if I'm not here? Like, are you telling me that the military?
What if, like, I don't know. What if, like, a bridge was collapsing in Tokyo or something, and this happened? What would you do then? Call me away from saving all those people to come over here and put this guy back in jail?
But see, that's the problem that I had with the hearing thing that they made such a big deal with. Either last episode or episode before. I think
previous episode.
Yeah, is because if you really think about it, there is someone in need 24/7 around the world. There is someone that he's hearing in his ear that's calling for help that he's not saving. And that just kind of makes him almost the villain of his own story. You know,
to an extent, I guess.
It's like, what if he is, I don't know.
Oh, they all right. It's just a fender bender.
Yeah. Like, what if he's like sitting there, I don't know, having fun with his wife. And he's like, oh, I hear
he does that all the time.
Somebody being murdered, but I'm just.
He does that all the time. He's like, they're eating dinner, and he's like,
yes, it probably does.
She's like, go, just go.
But I mean, it would almost be kind of like, I don't know. It almost kind of makes him a villain of his own story because you know that there's crime.
Yeah, okay. Here's my thing too. If he can hear all this going on and know when to go save people, why do they even need those little button things?
I don't know. It seems like he's always tuned in to his wife and children at all times. Like,
they got mad about that, so maybe not anymore. But
I kind of almost feel kind of like, why does Lois not take him along anytime she meets with Morgan Edge? I'm like,
well, she always asks him to, and he's like, "Oh, I'll be there." Oh, I heard a scream. I gotta go.
Well, I mean, she didn't ask him that last time. He asked her. He's like, "Hey, if you just wait a little bit, I can go." And she's like, "No, I got this." He only tried to blow me up and threaten my life and my job, my career.
Meta-human.
Yeah. I mean, so no biggie. I can handle this. When has she ever been able to handle it? That's why she's got the button. Like, I got it. You get what I mean? Like,
yeah, like, I do.
Don't tell me you can handle it when I literally have to give you a button to mash to call me anytime you have danger. Like, I mean, so
you can't. Yeah, no, I get it.
But I get it. But I mean, overall, I would say I would give this episode a 7 out of 10. I mean, it had its flaws, but I was still pretty entertained. What'd you give it?
I want to say a 7, but I also want to say like a 6.5, just because my big thing with this episode was that's a pretty petty reason to basically start a war with Superman, was because he told you not to tell him what type of father to be. Like,
oh yeah, that was I didn't enjoy any of that. I enjoyed, like I said, I enjoyed the kids.
And so that's why I want to say a 6.5. Now, surprisingly, I will say that this show from pilot all the way to this episode, still the kids have been my favorite aspect of this show, and I didn't see that happen.
It's because we watch Walker. It's the reason why. I'm like, I watch Walker, and I'm like, oh no, they're coming. Those kids are gonna be in this scene. Please, don't be the thing that ruins.
That's kind of how I felt. That's kind of how, like, when it started focusing on Jonathan and Jordan in the pilot episode, I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, I'm like, this gonna be.
But I actually really enjoy that throughout the show, the season so far to this point. That's been one of the strong points of the show to me.
Oh, I think it has too. And don't get me wrong. I think the adults, they do a fabulous job.
No, they held their own, but I guess I just put so much credit on the teenagers, because every show with teenagers in it, I'm like, just go away. Y'all talking about some dumb stuff. Like, y'all be stressing out about crap that don't even matter no more, and you'll understand that when you're older. But,
Yeah, I know, and I kind of feel like
and so,
when you've got a show that's dealing with life or death issues, and then you put teenagers talking about teen love and crap like that,
that's what I'm
it makes it
saying. I'm
really
like,
juvenile all the way
but
around.
with this, I like the way they do portray the teenagers on this show.
I
It's
do
like
too.
they're not too out of there to be almost considered the adults of the show, but they're not so petty that you're like, you little kids, you little punk
I know.
kids, you know.
I feel that way too. I think overall, I think they are some of the better, best quality of the show. I enjoy the reason why I gave it such a high mark is because I did actually enjoy that, you know, the Lana thing. I know it's minuscule compared to what other stuff that goes on into this, but I'm glad she was actually attempting to try to fix her marriage and maybe be like, you know what, maybe
Because
things
of
aren't as bad as
dinosaur
what I
pancakes,
think it is, huh?
apparently dinosaur pancakes fix everything.
I know, which it should. It just should automatically. I'm telling you, I've had them. They do. Like,
Like,
hey,
Morgan gonna be mad at me one day. I'm like, I'm gonna make some dinosaur
I
pancakes. It'll be
love
all
you.
right.
He's gonna be like, I love you too.
Well, Stevie will be for
Yeah,
sure.
I know. That's how I get on my kid's good side, and that's how my wife gets on my good side. So so it works. So it is a fixer. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm glad that they at least involved it in the series to a certain
Yeah, I like
extent.
how they like started kissing, and Sarah was like covered her sister's eyes.
Yeah, I
Like she's
know.
like, "What is going on here?"
Yeah, I kind of did think it's a little weird. She complains when her parents are fighting, but then she acts disgusted when they're not fighting. Like, I mean, I'm like, which is it? Make up your mind. You
Well, no,
know?
because to me it was kind of like she still kind of had that attitude at first about her dad cooking pancakes and everything.
Hmm.
And then like her mom kissed her dad and actually showed some kind of emotion towards it. And her attitude did kind of change right there for me. Like she didn't look pissed off anymore. She was just kind of like, this is weird.
Yeah.
So
I
I
get
mean, I
that to a
did.
certain extent, but I was kind of like, I still was kind of like, okay, you need to kind of make up your mind at this point.
And Jordan, when it comes to Sarah, Jordan's completely oblivious to, okay, this girl pretty much wants you. And he's just like, not even make. Well, I don't blame him for not making a movie. Last time he made a movie, he got the shit kicked out of him. So I don't know.
I know. So yeah, I kind of feel like he's kind of like, should I? But who's she dating now that she's
Like,
not
you got
telling me?
another boyfriend? Like,
Yeah.
what's up?
You know.
Oh, and that's something else I wanted to talk to is like, her ex boyfriend, that Sean guy,
Hmm.
was beating the crap out of Jordan and everything like that. Yes, Jordan did apologize to him, and he was like, okay.
Hmm.
But then this last episode, Jordan like hits this guy on the football field, makes him fumble, and then he's like, "This is my best friend." Wait, what? It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, there was
Y'all
definitely.
get over things quick.
Yeah, there's definitely some things this episode that kind of made me go, whoa, whoa. It's great y'all are going to
Like
a
I
certain
said, the
extent
whole
this
the
way,
whole
but
Lana
maybe
and
slow down.
Lois, the whole Lana and Lois being BFFs all of a sudden was out of nowhere. That
Yeah,
guy acting like Jordan was like his buddy.
yeah, yeah.
Like
I kind
that
of
was kind of weird to me, but
and I kind of felt like the
I'm
explanation of
nitpicking
why the boy.
shows I like. So
I kind of thought that the explanation was a little bit weak of why the boy got the powers in the first place. It's like I'm like,
well, I think there's gonna be more to it than what they gave us.
oh, no doubt
But
there's gonna be there. There's no doubt there's gonna be more to it. But I was just like, they could have maybe gave us something that would have made
I'm
us
like, I
shown
was
us
like,
that
okay,
Sarah's older.
here comes the teenage villain.
Hmm. That's the author in me. I just keep thinking to myself, show me, don't tell me. I hate when on shows where that they're like, tell us.
Yeah.
I want them to show me. And every time that they tell me, I'm like, oh, that's such a bad mistake. They should go into that. But it's like that's the reason why
Well,
I
to me,
hated
I
that
feel like
explanation.
it's a cop out
I do
too, in a
too.
way,
I do
because
too.
like you're just telling the story instead of putting the time in to make the scene, or show them find this other material that whatever happened in that explosion that caused him to get those powers. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah. I kind of feel that way
you
too
know,
with it.
so
But I
so
mean,
I can see where you're coming from on that.
but
But
I mean
yeah,
overall,
I want to say
people
just
enjoyed it.
because of the way they did the crap with Lane, General Lane, I'm
Hmm.
like 6.5,
Yeah, I would
7.
say a good 7 to me. I still want to give it that because I
And
feel
like I
like it
said, it was
wasn't
still a
enough to
good
really
show.
bring it down. It's still a great show. It's probably one of the better shows I've
Yeah,
seen on
I
television,
mean it's the show.
and I'm
It's the show
incredibly
I look
invested
most
in it.
forward to week by week.
Yeah, but I'm like, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed Smallville when Smallville was on, but don't go all Smallville on us too with some things. Make it
Now,
where it's a little bit, Superman and Lois. Where
Now,
it's it's
I
it's like
do
this
want
show.
everybody to understand that when I say 6 and 5, 7, I'm not saying the show's bad. I'm saying this episode wasn't as strong as previous
Yeah,
ones. That's why
previous.
it's getting a lower grade.
Oh, definitely,
Next
definitely.
episode, I could be like 9.5.
Yeah, and that's
Like,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Like it doesn't. There's nothing about this episode that made me go, "I'm giving up." Like this show is on a downward spiral. It's
and
nothing
even
like
though
that.
no,
It
and
just
even though
was kind of average for me
there was
compared to the other
some
ones.
things that bothered me, I'm not like, well, here goes CW again with another
Yeah, I know.
Arrowverse f
See,
up.
I feel
I'm
like
not like that.
I feel like they've given us enough that we can base off of faith that it's not going to end up that way. And
Yeah,
I
I
and
mean,
I truly believe it's a good show, and it's going to get even better than that.
and honestly, the thing about a show like this too is I could say this episode's a 6.5 or 7, but depending on how they link it into the next episode, I could come back and be like, that episode was actually like the 7.5
Good very
because
well
they
be.
were building something. I could
Yeah.
raise it based on what the next episode is. If it was put there to look like it was kind of a bad episode, but it was put there to build the next episode
Hmm.
up, that's still a good episode.
Yeah, I agree with you completely
So,
and totally. But guys, let us know what y'all think down below. Overall, I think we think it wasn't a game changer, but it was a decent episode. It was,
yeah,
and you know what? I actually believe it'll get a lot better next episode. Hopefully, they'll talk more about Luther a little bit more.
I think so. I
Maybe
think they're leading
expand upon
up
that.
to bringing him more into it. Like I said, I like the Morgan Edge
Hmm.
story. I just don't want that to be the main story
Yeah,
of
I
this
don't want
show.
him to be the main villain. I don't want him to take
Yeah.
over the Lex Luthor role without being Lex Luthor, like with having Luthor
Yeah.
in it. But overall,
All right.
guys, let us know what y'all think, and as always, guys, thanks for watching. Y'all take care.